Well, to talk more about the plot, we're joined by Behnam Ben Taleblu, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for the Defence of Democracies. Good evening to you, Behnam. And Avi Melamed is the founder and CEO of Inside the Middle East Intelligence Perspectives. Hello to you, Avi. And Behnam, we've had Iranian plots like this targeting Jews and Israelis in countries like Thailand, Cyprus, most recently in Turkey. What do you think is different this time around?
Pleasure to be with you, as well as Bulgaria. You know, most unfortunately, this is the intensification or continuation of a trend we've seen. The Islamic Republic traditionally works through carve-outs and cutouts that are proxies of it, like Lebanese Hezbollah. Let's not forget Lebanese Hezbollah's role, along with Iran's chief instrument of terror, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, in a bus bombing in Bulgaria back in 2012. But there seems to be a shift within the past decade of not only being willing to use proxies, but tapping into non-traditional criminal syndicates, be they from South Asia, South America, or even Central and Eastern Europe. And this is really the new face of Iran-backed terror, and is really how the Islamic Republic continues to prove day in, day out, why it remains the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism.
Avi Melamed, what are your thoughts on this? Should Israelis perhaps think twice before traveling to Greece this summer?
Laura, hi, thank you so much for having me. Look, I would like to look at this whole story in a wider context, and particularly to associate it with the story of the recently Chinese brokered Saudi-Iranian agreement. Why is it to do with that? One of the most significant things about this agreement is that actually Iran drops a very significant card that was part of its attempt to create this deterrence equation, and the card that Iran dropped currently is its ability to threat maritime traffic in the Gulf area, in the Arab Sea, in the Red Sea. One of the things that Iran is all the time trying to seek and create is this equilibrium of deterrence, this equation of deterrence, and in that sense, its terror capacities, which are world spread, is very significant. So it's no wonder that right now what we see is an Iranian attempt to kind of like create these alternative arenas where they want to kind of like rehabilitate a deterrence equation with Israel. And by the way, specifically talking about that specific story in Greece, I would say that it was very, I would say, hasty done, sort of speaking, attack, which is kind of like interesting, may indicate something that is going on within the Iranian terror capacities and intelligence capacities.
You think it was an opportunist attack? Oh, Behnam, talking of new arenas, I mean, Egypt has announced that it will allow Iranians travelling in tours to get visas to travel in the Sinai Peninsula, right, of course, on Israel's doorstep. Is that a security risk?
I think it stands to be a significant security risk, but it's also a wake-up call for America, for Israel, and for other defenders of the status quo in the region, in particular for U.S. policy right now, which continues to remain centered around, dangling the prospect of resurrecting this 2015 nuclear deal. So long as that remains on the table, many of the Arab states in the region are going to continue to hedge or increase their hedging. And you saw that with the UAE in 2019. You see that with allegations of, low-level talks between Iran and Bahrain. And on the surface, this may look like, okay, diplomacy, but the Islamic Republic has a diplomatic component to its export of the revolution. It's trying to break out of the regional isolation that it deserves to be in because of its support for terror and proxy groups. And so with the regime trying to reestablish and renormalize ties on multiple flanks, be it on the Arabian Peninsula vis-a-vis Saudis, or potentially in the Sinai, where it may potentially be able to open up a new front, it's the regime trying to say it is breaking out of this box. And in particular, it's trying to signal, particularly through hardline media, the end of the Abraham Accords. I know that's more their PR, but this is what they're trying to show the world with this flurry of high-level diplomatic meetings.
Avi, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say that the Iranians will be extremely cautious to do something in Sinai Peninsula because the Egyptians will show zero tolerance. The game is very clear. Look, today the Arab world is saying to the Iranians, we know exactly what you are, meaning the mullah regime. We have zero trust in you. But today there is a new game in town. The Chinese are involved. We are now reconfiguring the whole relationship. Fine. Let us all play ball. But the messages should be very clear, and they are very clear. The Egyptian will show zero tolerance to any kind of an Iranian attempt to do something in Sinai Peninsula that is other than strictly touristic purposes. The Iranians know that there will be an enormously careful about it. There is one other thing we have to remember about the Iranians. As part of their multi-layer games, they are very much involved in relationship with both Al-Qaeda and ISIS and other Sunni militant Islamic affiliated groups. This is one of the major challenges the Egyptians are dealing with in Sinai Peninsula and other areas in Egypt. The Egyptians will show the Iranians zero tolerance if the Iranians will try to cross some red lines on the sand of the Sinai Peninsula. The message is very clear.
Very quickly, Behnam, this happened on European soil. Do you expect any kind of response from the EU?
I mean, it's already too late, but the European Union, as well as the United Kingdom, as well as a whole host of other jurisdictions like Canada and Australia, should be, tightening ties with Washington, and in particular, calling a spade, and that means designating the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a foreign terrorist organization, using all legal, diplomatic, economic means to tighten that economic and political isolation against the Islamic Republic. That's the price floor of what they can do. Obviously, when it comes to the Israelis, deepening security intelligence ties has already yielded dividends, be it in Greece, Turkey, or Cyprus. I think these are the trend lines for the future for a more responsible European policy towards Iran. Will they do it is a wholly different matter.
Behnam Ben Taleblu and Avi Melamed, thank you very much indeed to you both.
Thank you.